Hello everyone, I've just decided I probably would like to add a couple more things to the first tutorial because there's something I left out. So I'm just coming back here to taskbar. Now I got you to add a number of things in the quick access toolbar, which is, if you're having a go at this, then you really need to have those up there. What I forgot to say was make sure you put paint. If you come down into all programs, art and graphics, paint, and if you right click you can pin to taskbar. Now that will put paint down the bottom here. The reason it's worth having is it's one of the things I do use all the time, often to edit or change images. So we come back here, let's take this insulin one. If I open paint up, edit, paste, expand canvas. If I wanted to use sections out of this diagram, it's very handy to use paint just to break things up. So let's just say I want the insulin and the insulin receptor there. I can highlight that in paint, control copy, come back into PowerPoint, let me grab a new slide, in. Now that gives me that small section. Sorry, it's not a very good resolution, but you get the idea. Now I often find if I'm using a flow diagram, I may break that up into sections. I'll go back into paint. Let's come over here, here's section 2. Control copy, come back into this, paste. Now here we go. So I might have the first piece come up. Let's animate that. Let's say I usually use grow and turn. I might then have a little piece of information that goes in with that. You could then put in an arrow, make this operate like a flow diagram. There's our little arrow, turn that around so it's heading in the direction we want. I'm going to particularly edit this well. There's my diagram. Now the arrow can then, make that fly in. Let's come over here, we will make that, I'm not going over everything because it's in the last tutorial, which I'm sure you paid very careful attention to. Let's have effects option, let's make this come in from the right, and timing will be medium. Okay, so there we go. And then we'll have our second piece there, grow and turn. Alright. Now when I run that, oops, shift F5, there we are. There's a little piece of information. You could have a dot point with that. Another piece of information comes in, you can put a dot point in with that. So it's a really nice way, again visually, if I just put in that chunk of information here, it's not as interesting as breaking it up into segments and creating a flow diagram out of the image. I find that very, very useful. Now to do that again, you'll need to put paint down into your taskbar, and if you're doing stuff with PowerPoint, I just find I'm constantly using paint to alter images, to resize them, to do whatever I need to do to use them in PowerPoint. So it's really worth having down there. Alright, what I thought I might do is, because a lot of you, let's come down to the bottom here, I think a lot of you are going to be doing bits and pieces regarding chromosomes. So, okay, let's put a heading in. Again, font size 36. So let me go chromosomes. We'll highlight that, bold. in blue. We'll make that 2 1/4. Alright, good to go. I think a lot of you will use an image where you want to show chromosomes doing something. I mean, basically a project's going to be about chromosomes anyway, in some regard, either a mutation occurring or something happening, or you might want to look at something happening in some DNA. Anyway, the first thing you might want to do, I'll just take you through a little animation that I use pretty regularly, is a chromosome splitting on the spindle. Now, the first thing you need to do is draw yourself a chromosome. And I'll show you how I do it. Firstly, go into shapes and get something similar to a half circle. Now, we use that, turn it there. Now, make this one, shape fill, make this black, because that is going to be our centromere. Now onto our centromere. If you come up here into shapes, if you come to this little squiggly line here, it's just like a free draw line. Now we're going to put a little arm up here. Whoops, the greatest drawing of all time. Shape fill, let's make it red, and shape outline black. And again, we'll come down to here. Oops. Squiggly line, we'll put our bottom arm on. You're probably going to do this a whole lot neater than I am, but I'm just doing this to show you. Right, there is now one badly drawn chromosome. Okay, now come up to a range. Sorry, highlight it first. Arrange, group. Right, there's one chromatid. Now, you're going to need to, obviously, have this as sister chromatids. So Control, copy, Control V. Now it gives you another one. Now, what you can do, flip that across, bring it back together. Right, now there is your chromosome. Now you need a spindle. So what I use is you come back up here to images, grab a circle. Now you don't want any fill, shape fill, no fill, shape outline black, and you need to give that a bit of a, say make it 3. Now copy this because we'll need a couple together. So Control, copy, Control V. Now that lets you then have 2 of them. You put one up like that, and you have one in the middle there. Right. Now there is your spindle. I'm just going to move my chromosome out of the way for a minute. Let's pop it over there. I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, you could group those, so we can just move them around easily. Range, group, there we go. Now there is our spindle fibre. Now I'm just going to bring my chromosome down. Okay, there's my chromosome now on the middle. Alright, so let's just say it's metaphase. You can work out how to move these around yourselves. You know the basics from the last shoot. Alright, now let's say I want this to move to either end and I want my spindle to disappear. So firstly I click on my spindle, I come up to animations, come down to an exit, and we are going to use split. Now that's obviously splitting from the wrong end. So we come over, come down to effects options. We don't want vertical in, we want vertical out. We don't want it to go too quickly. So let's just bring it down to medium and see how fast that goes. Medium's good. Okay, so there is that spindle which is now going to disappear. Now, let's have our chromosome split with it. So I highlight one side, I come up, I can find, use a custom path here. Let's say we know that we are going to want it to go from the middle to the left. Okay, now let's move that then, move that out to here. I just want to check that and see if it's going to do what I want it to do. Where is it going to move to? Yep, that's fine. Now we come back, I'll click on the other side, and we're going to want this one. Come down to motion paths. This one I am going to want to go to the right. Okay, now if I grab my wrong one. Now I want this one to come down to here. Now I'm going to want those to move together at the same time. So I come over here with previous. I'm going to also come up here and hit with previous as well. Now let's have a look at what the image is going to do. Shift F5, here's our spindle, there is our fantastically drawn chromosome. There we go, spindle disappears, chromatids separate to either end. Now I've used throughout the stuff on genetics, I've used that one all the time. You may find that useful. I hope you do. You might want to show crossing over. You might want to show a macro mutation on the chromosome. You may want to have a DNA sequence. You may want to have a chunk come out of that, move somewhere else, or a point mutation being replaced by the wrong base. I hope that little bit of movement stuff is useful for you. Alright, that is probably all I need to say. The rest is really up to you, and I wish you the very best with your assignment. And if you look at this over the holidays, I'll see you back at school. Alright, catch you later.